bullshit mark
Ladies and
anyway.
gentlemen of the congregation, please
Hello,
open
everybody.
your holy books of Remeruism to chapter 5. It's titled
E Honda stance or Odin stance.
Toward the Opening Battle. Yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it because we started super
Epic
super
battle.
late. Yeah. So
There's no need to bullshit. We could just go.
Yep,
Yeah.
jumping right in.
jumping
We're
right
gonna
in.
just go.
Mhm.
Revan, I messaged you on Discord, so yeah, you may wanna check your Discord. I DM'd you, so keep an eye on that. Plans changed. Stuff happened. Things. Yeah. So. Yep. All right. Anyway, that is it. Oh yeah, introductions. I'm Richie Roberts.
I'm Moonlight Sparks.
I'm Shem.
Shem.
I'm Sonic.
Shem. Yep. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming to the stream.
Hello, everybody.
I don't know why I'm
Are
being
you
extremely
ready to
formal
see-
about this.
Are you all ready to see the Empire who talked last week all the shit now proceed to get the hit?
Yeah.
Talk stuff. Get
Whacked.
Last week they fucked around.
talk
This week
smack. Get
they're
whacked.
finding
They're
out.
gonna get
Yeah.
fucked.
I think
Yeah.
we forgot to say something. It should have been hi,
Mhm.
I'm Moonlight Sparks and I'm a Remeruist.
Praise Arceus.
Hi.
Yeah, that's what you should have done,
Mhm.
Moon. Why aren't you
Hi.
praising Arceus?
Gotta do
Well,
that.
This is not Anime Church. I'm not.
Yeah, but you
He's
want to
not.
reference
He's
it.
not gussied up.
I'm not gussied up. Well, you don't see me gussied up, but yeah. I'm
Mhm.
probably wearing the exact same shirt from yesterday too, but no one knows that because I was wearing the robe.
Well, no one knows that until now.
Yeah.
Like,
Way to out
call
yourself,
attention
sir.
to it, and we know.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Well, now, us and everyone out there, wherever we're,
Everyone in the ether.
out there. Yes, in
Yes.
the ether, the general area.
Somewhere out there.
Yep. If love can... Oh. It's that one fucking love song commercial that, like, haunts millennials late at
Me
night.
too. Oh, all the
You know
time.
exactly the one.
Tell me how am
How
I supposed to live without
you?
More than 25 songs on this
You
amazing
understand.
album.
We were
You
supposed
understand.
to. We were supposed to start reading, and yet.
I know.
And we're
this happened.
bullshitting anyway.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Are you?
We're
That is
sorry.
slightly.
We're sorry.
What's all
We're
we?
sorry.
Do they think they buy it?
I feel like
No, I
that's I
We
feel
had
like
the
that's
stream,
100%. I feel like that's 100% what Blizzard is gonna be saying all.
We're sorry.
Oh,
We're
so
sorry.
good. Oh
We're
my
sorry.
god.
What's how we?
Look at us
We're
pet the baby lamb.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
I said
you
I
know
was
that
sorry.
game? You know that game that we put a 2 at the end of that we made you pay for, and then like we said we were gonna do story
And then said that
for,
wasn't
and then we
happening.
said that it wasn't gonna happen, and now we're making you pay individually for like the
Even
little bit
more?
of story that we're actually gonna give you. We're sorry. We're sorry. Fuck you.
Yeah, because
I feel like Todd did that with 76 too. Like literally
God.
when
they
that
did a
second
We're
person-
What a
Sorry campaign.
waste.
Oh,
We're
we did.
sorry.
What a waste.
All right.
What a fucking waste.
All right,
Anyway.
moving on. Chapter 5.
Yep,
That's the
chapter
bullet on that
5.
one.
Towards the opening of the battle. So after sending Ghidorah off to the Empire... Oh, this is Reamer. Sorry.
This is Rimuru.
So after... Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So after sending Ghidorah off to the Empire, it was time for some interrogating. No, not for Shinji and his friends. For Ramirez. She'd said a few things I just couldn't let slide, and given that she wasn't afraid to play pranks on me, I was sure she was hiding other things as well. Huh? No way, I'm, not hiding anything. Ramirez fidgeted a bit. Clearly suspicious. She obviously had a secret, but just as I threatened her with no cake for the rest of her life, she began taking a mile a minute. What? Or she began talking a mile a minute.
Yeah.
What?
It was like.
What do you
taking-
know? Yeah, taking a mile like. I thought she was like running. Anyway.
Oh, Pog.
What do you want to know, Captain? Captain? Whatever. Better let that go without comment. So I moved on with my questions. So, Adelman's gotten a hell of a lot stronger since I last saw him, but... Alright, I can accept that. What about the other dudes with him? I didn't expect Alberto to whip Shinji's party pretty much solo, and I never heard anything about a death dragon. You haven't been messing around with any other floors, have you? Or any other floors, have you? Alberto was now much, much more than just a kind of strong monster, or kind of a strong monster, excuse me. He had the physical skills of a special A death paladin, and the technical skills to make full use of them. He was already keeping up with Hakuro as a death knight, so how the hell strong was he now? That's a weird sentence. Well, Alberto was teaching that kid Arnaud, I think, right? So now they're back down in the deeper floors testing their... Stop! I hurriedly put an end to this. Alberto teaching Arnaud? What was up with that? Arnaud was the squad leader in the Crusaders. I wasn't sure anyone could teach him much. So why was he the one undergoing training? I just had no idea what Ramirez was talking about. Okay, well, after Hinata got all angry with Arnaud and the other paladins, they licked their wounds and tried their hand at the dungeon one more time. The Demon Colossus was still under development back then, so they made it past floor 70. Alright. And then those kids got lost, and then those kids lost again. And what a sight it was. Ramirez was clearly enjoying this. Veldora was nodding and laughing with glee. I'm sure it must have been hilarious.
Report. A record of battle is available.
Well, really? Nice one, Raphael. I'll say that for later. But in the meantime, let's focus on Ramirez. So, how far did Arnaud's team make it this time? Probably the dragon rooms between floors 96 and 99, I figured. There's a bunch of floor effects there as well, so I think they'd give a lot of trouble to human explorers. I think they were destroyed by the next boss, Veldora interrupted. Seeing them cry their eyes out as they fled was simply a joy to watch. Wow, tacky. But the next boss? Huh? Was the floor 80 boss that strong? Oh, why'd you ask? Said Ramirez. I mean, Arnaud's one of the 10 great saints. He was as good as Clayman and the ex-demon lords, wasn't he? I spotted the answer to my question as I asked it. If you think about it, even Adelman or Alberto could probably beat a pre-awakened Clayman. Maybe even post-awakened, actually, if that crazy death dragon was along for the ride. Ramirez mumbled. If I recalled correctly, I named Zejian the floor guardian the guardian of floor 80. Did he finally evolve from his pupil form to reach adulthood? Veldora mentioned he was training him, and I didn't really get what he meant by that either. How do you train an insect monster? Whatever the Veldora-style death stance was meant to be, I had no idea how Zejian was supposed to harness it. I let Veldora have his way because he seemed to be having fun and all, but maybe I should have put some more serious thought into it. Zejian had used my own cells to heal his wounds and coat his outer shell in magisteel. Perhaps thanks to that, he had high speed and mobility, and he could also apparently summon his family. Training had signed off on everything, so I had no complaints. But the whole concept behind that was to fluster challengers with a quick, nimble insectoid boss after all those slow-moving golems. Hey, so what's up with Zejian right now? I attempted to further interrogate the panicked Ramirez, but Veldora spoke first. My apprentice Zejian has undergone his complete transformation. Now, with the skills he inherited from me, he is a warrior without compare. And what's more, Zejian didn't even need to lift a feeler against Arnaud's party. They were trounced by the floor guardian, floor 79. Now the picture was growing clearer. Arnaud met his match against Apito, the Queen Wasp serving as the boss of floor 79. Between her hyperspeed and ultimate venom, not even the well-honed swords of Arnaud's Crusaders could touch her. Then, as they told me, the whole party got stung a zillion times by Apito's hive mates, and then they ran away screaming. Crazy. Just pile it on, won't you? Tell me about this stuff. I got a job to do, you know? I said, exasperated. I know, but it wasn't... I know, but it wasn't just us. My master was training that insect too. Why, you accursed traitor! But it's not fair, master. You're acting like you had no part of it. Yeah, I'm sure Veldora got involved. Anyone would, once they realized how much fun this was. Still, though, I felt kind of betrayed. All these people getting to goof around all day behind my back. Maybe it was a mistake to ever let them handle this stuff. I felt a twinge of regret now, but something still bothered me. You know, I've been wondering, Veldora. When you say you trained Zejian, what do you mean exactly? He's a bug, right? By complete transformation, Veldora doesn't mean he went humanoid or something, did he? It turned out my hunch was absolutely correct. So you finally noticed. You've realized just how wrong you are. I was having fun seeing you do that, so I didn't say anything. What did I ever do to deserve this, Veldora? They sure got me this time. Delving into the dungeon records, I had Raphael show me a few images. He was right. Zegian was now humanoid, all slender and chiseled. And basically, he was Razul. The insectoid Shion beat over in Libelius. He looked so much like that insanely powerful Razul, and thanks to that, he just exuded powerhouse vibes. This rather unusual evolution gave him a chance to learn more battle moves, and as it turned out, the same was true of Apito. She had a shapely feminine form, and looking at her, it dawned on me. I should have realized something was up when Hinata started coaching her. I thought it was just some mock warfare, but she really was training her. And thanks to Hinata's expert battle training, Abito was incredibly refined in her moves. She had been training with Zegian as well, and her technical skills were also just as polished up. Arnaud's plastering was ample evidence of that, I suppose. So then Arnaud's party decided to reevaluate themselves a little, they said. Going back to square one, they tackled the dungeon once more. This time from the very first level, but one of the paladins met his end on floor 60 at the lands of Alberto, the Death Paladin, servant of Adelman, the Immortal King, and, a few centuries ago, the strongest of all paladin warriors. And ever since then, they've had their asses thoroughly kicked by Alberto. After whipping their asses the first time, Alberto had taunted them, saying, Paladin? More like Paladon't. That apparently really set off Arnaud. Good. And even after busting out his ether break finisher, nothing worked on Alberto. The combination of a lifetime of sword skills and his new monster-based stats made it impossible for Arnaud's party to keep up. His undead body never grew tired, and even if whole body parts were sliced off, he could still recover. It was cheating, really. If you didn't hit the right elemental weakness, you just couldn't beat him. Even worse, Adelman had that holy evil inversion skill, which only added to his invincibility. Really, I thought, Arnaud couldn't be blamed for this. With all the Magicals Adelman's team absorbed in the labyrinth, they had simply evolved into upper-level monsters, and Arnaud happened to challenge them right then. Bad timing, really, but think about it the other way. Getting to cross swords with the strongest knight of centuries-old era was an incredibly lucky opportunity to have. And now, under Alberto's protection, the Crusaders under Arnaud were rotating in and out of the dungeon to train. So, floor 60 had turned into something of a death trap while I wasn't paying attention. But what about the other floors, then? I could see where this was going. Adelman and Zegian couldn't have been the only ones transforming like mad down there. And I was right. Now, apparently, there was a new group in the labyrinth, a team consisting of nothing but the Ultimate Titans. They called themselves the 10 Dungeon Marvels, and really, I think they could give my cabinet a run for their money. Adelman was on the team, of course, as was his assistant Alberto. Apito, with her new moniker of Insect Queen, had joined the Marvel ranks, and apparently Zegian was now the highest ranked among them. And then we had Kumara. Evidently, by taking the magical beasts in her 9 tails and infusing them into her body, she could assume the form of an adult woman. Holy shit, they look cool.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
Apito
I like
looks,
that.
woo.
Yeah, she's, yeah.
Dang,
A little bit.
they look awesome.
Very, very Darkstalkers-y. I like that. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah.
What's with the patch on or whatever the plant is on his chest there? What's up with that?
I don't
It's
think...
just- Is
I don't
that-
know, actually. That looks like an eye or something. The lower part looks like an eye, and then it stalks up to like a face. I don't know what that is.
It looks like there's a mouth.
That's his weak spot. You have to have like the glowy weak spot on the body so
It
people know what
almost
to
looks
hit.
like a plant, like a little pumpkin with the 3 seeds or whatever.
It kind of does, but
It has like a root.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
what's
and then
going
there's
on
like an
there.
eye at the bottom or something.
Yeah, I don't know what that. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I can see what you mean with the eye. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does look like it.
It's time to make the big announcement, Ramirez shouted, and then she went over the dungeon's current situation with the latest news. Let's start from the bottom up. Ramirez, keeping her promise to Milim, had carefully raised the 4 element-infused dragons, all of them successfully evolving into Dragon Lords, the result of being constantly bombarded by Valdora's Magicals. Thus, we now had a Fire Dragon Lord, a Frost Dragon Lord, a Wind Dragon Lord, and an Earth Dragon Lord deep down. I can't say I was too excited about knowing that, but those were the facts. And that wasn't all. The full rundown. Floor 90 Guardian, 9-head Kumara. Floor 80 Guardian, Insect Kaiser Zegian. Floor 79 Boss, Insect Queen Apito. Floor 70 Guardian, Immortal King Adelman. Floor 70 Advanced Guard, Death Paladin Alberto. That, plus a bonus, Bovix and Equix as our Floor 50 Guardians. They, sad to say, weren't really dungeon marvels. Instead, they had induced Beretta, the manager who made all this work. Personally,
They had inducted Beretta.
Instead, they had inducted Beretta, the manager who made all this work. Personally, I would love to palm off award this great honor to someone else. Beretta carefully eyed trainee and Ifrit, now known as Charis. Oh dear, I'm afraid I have the extremely important job of taking care of Lady Ramirez, trainee replied with a beautiful smile. Yes, and I am Sir Veldora's only confidant. His care occupies all my attention. Charis was pretty used and abused by Veldora, I felt, but I guess he liked it. Either way, neither were interested in any more work. Reminds me of a certain butler I know, I thought as I sighed. Sounds like you got a tough job, Beretta. Oh, you sympathize, Sir Rimuru? I nodded back, reminding myself just how much of a bond we shared. As I did, I went over a few other things. First off, who exactly did the 10 dungeon marbles answer to? The dungeon was a facility run by all of us, as both a hobby and a money-making venture. Much of it ran on Ramirez's powers, and it never functioned correctly without Veldora's energy. When considering this, I'd think Ramirez, as general manager, would also assume 10 marbles leadership. But, well, along those lines, I conducted interviews with everyone and adjusted things to their requests. Ramirez laid it all out for me. First, Beretta served Ramirez, no change there. The 4 Dragon Lords were also under Ramirez's authority. They had a contract drawn up and everything, and since Dragon Lords are sentient, they were allowed to execute it. Kamara had become good friends with the children and enjoyed life here a great deal. So I guess her gratitude for me has gone pretty wild. She had publicly declared that she was my pet, leaving Ranga in the dust. Oh. Zejian and Apita, that makes me sad.
Ooh,
Oh. No.
poor boy. Poor boy.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Zeji and Apido also, that's... No.
Right here.
That's mean. Zeji and Apito also took a liking to me, saying they'll treat me as their lord. Adelman, well, I was a god to him. This had rubbed off on Alberto, and his loyalty was now with me, through his boss. So those 5 were mine, so to speak. Bulvix and Equix, I figured, would be better off under Ramirez. They were more hired by the dungeon than anyone else or anything else. They appreciated it, I was told, but voiced a desire to serve under me instead. Which, well, they're both species who believe in power over anything else, so I bet with Ramirez, they totally judged that book by its cover. No, they didn't. You named those 2 guys, remember? That's more valuable to them than any salary they'll get. So they insisted. Ah, that kind of thing, huh? That makes me feel happy, actually. I'll have to drop a few kind words next time I see them. And so I was watching those 3 Imperial intruders earlier, I actually had a front row seat to some pretty startling changes in the dungeon. Stunned into silence is about the right way to put it, but really, it's great to see our guardians get stronger. Still, all those unanticipated evolutions made me a little anxious. A bad habit for someone as timid as myself. But enough of that. With the 10 dungeon marbles in place, an Imperial attack would be nothing to worry about. I did inform them, however, to try to go a little easy on our challengers from the general public. Otherwise, I thought it'd be pretty much impossible for your average dude to make it anywhere in there. Why would they want to take on a labyrinth with not one but several Demon Lord class enemies inside? I wanted to be sure floor 100 was never breached. At minimum, but Valdora could see that to himself. As for the other floors, I'd like to let people hack their way down to floor 80 at least. We took all this time building it, so I'd kind of like people to look at it. We could think about that during peacetime. After getting a rundown on the labyrinth's current status, I went around to each floor guardian. I wanted to get a good close look at them, checking how they've grown and evolved. The results were beyond my imagination. With this much fighting force, I couldn't see how we could possibly lose to the Empire in here. Then, a few days later, I finally got to experiment on a completed forest monitoring system. We were seated in our Strategic Military Control Battle Command Center, or the Control Center for short. I talked over the name of Valdora and the gang, and we let our imaginations go wild. But now I kind of regretted making it so long. I probably debated over it with the wrong people, but Imar strictly called it the Control Center, so not too many people actually knew the entire name. This was built next to Valdora's personal chamber on floor 100, and we set up a passageway to our normal strategy room as well. If we quarantined the surface city inside the labyrinth, this would serve as Tempest's headquarters. In case of war, we were all set, but of course, I'd prefer if we never had to use it. The results of our magic monitoring system were quite impressive. We had multiple large screens set up, the same sort we used for the battle tournament, and each one showed a different scene. Whether it was the Forest of Jura, our trade routes with the Dwarven Kingdom, or any other important site, we now had all the visuals we could care to monitor. We could even observe the sea routes in the Kingdom of Farminus or the peaks of the Connaught Mountains without any issue. It operated in a really simple way, using the physical magic Megiddo I invented. The system subtly altered and reshaped a large lens-shaped body of water suspended in the stratosphere, projecting in an expanded image of a given target point. Reflecting this image let us transmit data, like a video. Consulting with Moss, I figured out how to use my own replications.
Moss.
Deployed across our territory.
Moss.
Yeah, Moss.
I'm
As
so
magic
glad you
invokers.
remembered that.
Yeah, I have to. It's Moss.
Moss.
Moss. They were connected to me via Dominate Space, producing a data link that was perfectly synced up at all points.
He's such a
These
boss.
replications were... What's that? Was that?
He's such a boss.
Boss. He is, though.
Moss the boss.
Yes.
Moss.
Moss a boss.
It's the Moss
These-
boss.
These...
Oh, it's the boss of Moss.
Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
These replications were super tiny in size and had no self-consciousness, so they wouldn't consume energy unless I turned my attention to them. Or transporting them over to a given surveillance point was non-trivial, but Soe, Moss, and the rest of their team put in a great effort. Overall, it was a great system that operated at a low cost. I named this physical magic Argos, the Eye of God. Oh, okay. The output we were currently seeing on screen was in high resolution, following some Raphael-provided image processing. This let us keep abreast of things from our nice, swarm control center. This was some really amazing magic. Everyone else was jazzed about it too, especially Diablo, but I won't go into that. With this monitoring system complete, I now realize that it provided another key perk. It made it possible to position a Megiddo spell at any point in the images we saw at the control center. I tried it out myself, and the results were amazing. I didn't think it actually worked, so I just lobbed a shot out at Gopta's feet while he was training in our town's main square. He leapt up straight in surprise, and I don't think I'll ever forget the face he made for a while to come.
He has an orbital bombardment
so mean.
laser system.
That's so mean, though. Oh, you see one of my big four? I'm just gonna test it out on his fucking feet.
Yep.
Zap!
That
What an asshole.
Okay.
This
Well, I
is
mean, you
so
can heal him
fucking
instantly, so it doesn't matter.
overpowered.
That's hilarious. I love it. I did
Meteor
yell at him.
storm!
He was already extremely powerful.
What-
And now
hold
he's
on,
like,
what's
yeah, I just
the-
got an orbital laser, huh?
Is it? It's not PK Starstorm. What's like the Final Fantasy like storm? I think it's like he does it where it's like I don't know. It's something like I might be thinking of something completely different. Oh no,
I
it's
don't
Super
know, in my
Mario
mind,
RPG.
it's like Lucario's laser or like Samus's laser, but at like a
I'm thinking
pinpoint
like
area.
I'm thinking like Super Mario RPG like Genos. Like
Oh.
his like he just brings down and
Like
it's just
the-
like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, it could be like that. It's vague, so it can be whatever you want in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did yell at him, "You let your guard down, dumbass!" But I didn't think he was really at fault. How would he fucking know?
How is he supposed to look? Oh, look straight up, huh? How are you
Yeah.
supposed to dodge that?
Yeah, come on. My Megiddo spell had also improved. Oh, and it's stronger. It had already been optimized once by the Great Sage, but it looked like Raphael wasn't quite satisfied. After some more scrupulous enhancement, it had developed a system where I could keep multiple lens satellites in the air at once. Paired with Argos, we could even keep Megiddo activated during the nighttime. It wasn't quite as powerful, but we could successfully reflect light between satellites to collect images. Honestly speaking, I was kind of wondering whether we weren't devoting our efforts to the wrong thing, or whether we weren't devoting our efforts to the wrong things. We used a high-level spirit to actually generate these lenses, so they'd stay up as long as I kept their magical supply intact. Raphael handled all the tricky calculations, so everything else was super easy to control. And since it didn't consume anything during daytime hours, we could run it even harder, taking in more light and heat energy and launching Megiddo shots like heat rays. The sheer scope of these improvements blew my mind. This rate, I could wipe out a human army without even having to lift a finger. Jesus. Upon confirming our experiment success, I returned to my office like, what fuck? You guys are already strong enough. Not long after, showing impeccable timing, Shuna came in and said I had a visitor. I may not look it, but I entertain a lot of guests. Really, that's the majority of my work. Beyond that, there's magic development, brainstorming fun new products, and assigning the right people to the right jobs. That and labyrinth administration, helping Molly out with stuff. A lot. All work needs an aspect to play to it, after all. But anyway, handling visitors is the most important part of my job, and I try to take it seriously. The reception room, Shuna guided me to already contained Shinji's trio, waiting nervously for me. They were officially going to accept asylum in Tempest, and over the past few days, I'd been grilling them for all their info. This was entirely on a volunteer basis, of course, not an interrogation. They were just being interviewed in different rooms. I let them use their free time however they wanted, so I was sure they'd have time to work out their future plans. And that was what they were there to tell me about that day. So, have you decided what you'll be doing? Shinji's band had trouble deciding whether to find an outfit in Tempest to work for or become freelance adventurers instead. If they kept of adventuring, they could tackle the labyrinth and continue being pretty popular wealthy figures. But on the other hand, now that they knew the limits of their strength down there, there wasn't much potential for growth. Our demon Colossus was stationed on floor 60, but it seemed likely Shinji's party would have serious trouble against it, and even if they beat that guy, Adelman's terrible trio was just 10 floors down. It was a dead end no matter how you sliced it, and I can understand if they didn't want to bang their heads against that wall for the rest of their lives. Seeing that wall for themselves pretty much tanked their motivation for the job. It was good money for sure, but wouldn't it turn into a boring rut after a while? And really, Adelman and his friends had grown way stronger than I planned for. It wasn't even funny. I never thought they'd grow, or evolve, I suppose, that much, and there wasn't much I could do about that. But whatever, let's just forget about it. And let's not worry about what the dungeon's other challengers would think either. So, would they find jobs elsewhere in Tempest? I'd be assigning them a spot based on their talents, and I'd still provide a guaranteed stable life for them. But with war against the Empire coming up, I was sure they were worried about getting swept up in that somehow. I had no interest in forcing them, but I couldn't guarantee they would never get involved either. Better keep from saying that too much, or saying too much. I just wait to see their decision. Right, so after the three of us discussed it, Sir Rimuru, we decided that we want you to let us work here in Tempest. We heard about how Lord Ghidorah would be serving you, and so we're hoping we can live and work here as well. Shinji looked nervous. The other two solemnly nodded. I guess they were all on the same page. All right, in that case, welcome home. Thank you very much. We'll do our best out there. We'll work hard for you, sir. And thus Tempest's population increased by 3. Next came jobs. So I'm gonna have that. Oh, excuse me. So I'm gonna have that old man Ghidorah work as a manager on floor 60. I explained. He'll research that demon Colossus, and at some point in the future, I plan to have him possess it. That old geezer had a serious thirst for knowledge, and he was super enthusiastic about the idea. The moment he had set his eyes upon the demon Colossus, he almost started doing a dance right on the spot. Right then, he was in the hands of Adelman, but maybe I could let him be the guardian of floor 60 later on. Now, you guys don't want to join the war, right? I asked the trio. Right, replied Shinji, looking a bit reticent. We know some people on the other side. Huh?
Reticent.
Reticent? Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
reticent, but reticent.
Oh.
We know some people on the other side, so if possible. In that case, instead of hiring them in my government, I felt it was better to assign them research work in the labyrinth. So I decided to introduce them to Ramirez. Bounding our way through the dungeon, we reached Ramirez's laboratory shortly. Hey, Ramirez, you think you can find jobs for these guys in your lab? Ah, Rimuru. You mean the kids from before? Right, yeah. Ramirez had been looking for personal assistants, but it was hard to find anyone qualified. I couldn't let researchers from other nations become Ramirez's playthings, but the less intelligent monsters wouldn't be able to keep up with her pie-in-the-sky ideas. She had Dino, yeah, but he wasn't enough to put my mind at ease. But now we had Shinji's trio, and I couldn't think of a better fit. Woohoo! My name's Ramirez. You guys interested in becoming my new assistants? Shinji didn't know how to react. I'm not sure he realized who Ramirez was. Oh, fantastic. Look, Shinji, a real fairy, Mark shouted excitedly. Maybe it was his first time seeing one. I don't know how much time he had spent in this world, but if a fairy made him this worked up, he must have been a pretty pure-hearted guy. So, you see, I'm looking for some capable assistants. I'll pay for you, or pay you for it too. What do you think? We got some major personnel shortages around here, and Rimuru said that fully educated otherworlders are totally the time-saving solution. You don't have to say all that, Ramirez. It's true, though. They've got technical skills, flexible minds, can jump right into the world. I really hope they'd be interested in taking this on. Well, I'll do it. Research seems a lot more peaceful. Shen's certainly honest. I guess he was the tipping point for Shinji. In that case, by all means. Ramirez happily flitted around the air, sticking out her non-existent chest proudly. Looks like you guys got a lot of potential. Well, all right. Passing grades for all of you. But you're going to have to follow all my orders, okay? The way she can change her attitude on a moment's notice has always surprised me. Where was all the awkwardness from before? It was certainly in character for her, at least. Leaving the dumbfounded Shinji and his friends in the dust, Ramirez quickly began laying out her offer. Their salary would be 3 gold coins a month, 36 per year, along with bonuses, of course. Ramirez tended to pay her staff based on her own whims, kind of like myself, so I wouldn't really rely too much on that bonus. It sounded like Ramirez was offering them room and board, though. I was sure she expected them to use my own dining hall, but I didn't mind that. So Shinji and his group had their immigration arrangements settled in short order. A few more days passed, and the gang quickly got used to their new workplaces. Now they were serving as Ramirez's right hands in the lab. I saw no problems there, but now Ghidorah was a concern. I hadn't had any contact with him since he left for the Empire. He was a stubborn old man, I knew, so I figured he was all right. I was starting to get worried. I really wished he'd drop me a line. That thought was lingering as I held a briefing with Minimara in the control center. Video data from my Argo system was on a large monitor. Every viewpoint was clear. I wanted to collect data from within the Empire as well, but for now, I was satisfied with video from our military borders. From those feeds, we could see large numbers of soldiers gathered, keeping a careful watch over the area. Tensions were always high over there. No moves today, it looks like. No moves today, it looks like. Not at all, no, but isn't this magic so useful, Surimaru? This must have been what you were spending so much time researching lately, isn't it? We were all alone today, so Benimaru was less formal than usual. I preferred keeping it casual like this, actually, but Benimaru was back to his usual stodgy, stuffy self whenever people showed up. Not around Soe or Diablo, though. We all had a partners in crime thing going that I liked, and sometimes we all head over to Inglacia and go drinking together. Exactly. The most wonderful thing about this magic is the innovation behind the idea. It offers tremendous effects at a low energy cost. Its usefulness speaks for itself, and the complexity of the calculations behind it ensures nothing goes to waste, like a fine work of art, and that's why... Enough! Once you start bragging, you never stop, so you can do that when I'm not around, so can you do that when I'm not around, maybe? This always happens when I let my guard down a little. Diablo immediately starts extolling my praises and drives me up a wall. Yes, my magic's really great and all, but it's really Raphael doing all the hard work. I don't see it as my own skill set, so I couldn't help but feel a bit awkward. He's right, Diablo. Restrain yourself a little, or you'll cause trouble for Sir Reamer. I didn't know that was him.
That's okay.
Nonsense. Yeah. Nonsense. How can you say that, Benimaru? That's hardly the case, is it, Sir Rimuru? No, Benimaru's right. It's always Rimuru this, Rimuru that with you. You need to tone it down. I had to make myself clear with Diablo. It made him collapse on the floor, a shocked look on his face. That was no big deal. When I heard Diablo was a primal demon or some kind of freaky thing like that, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But if you think about it, he's always been a weirdo from the start. Even Guy had trouble dealing with him. Oh, so he's just like...
I mean... It's with
Yeah.
if it ain't broke, don't fix
I
it. It's
love
been
the
working so far.
dramatic lighting there. Just, oh, my lord,
just-
he's disgraced me.
And she's just... You know, he's got the heavy shading, the black and white.
Yeah,
Just-
that
Oh,
ding sound
Yeah.
effect in the background. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, poor guy.
Yeah. Try to take him seriously and you'll just make a fool of yourself. Now that I knew that, I was done messing around. Yes, Sir Rimuru. Well done. Dealing such emotional damage to me so easily. I'm telling you to stop that. You see, he never learns. Going a little hard on him is the perfect way to balance it. But our wholesome little moment came to an end.
Damage! Oh, you thought the same thing.
It
You
was
beat
the
me
emotional
to it.
damage.
Every one of us thought it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the most damage he's probably taken in his entire life.
And it's from Rimuru. No wonder he
Yeah.
respects him so much.
Jeez.
Yep. All that came to an end after a sudden report from Iris. Rimuru, someone just teleported directly into the labyrinth based on its signature. I think it's that old man you befriended. Got it. I head right over to floor 70. I stood up. That alone made Benimaru and Diablo realize something happened. I appreciated that, so I gave them a quick rundown. Well, Ghidorah's back, but it sounds like something's up with him. I'm gonna go check it out. Absolutely, Benimaru replied. I will stay on alert here then. I'll escort you, Surimaru. Thanks. It was time like these when I could rely on Diablo. If only he always acted like that. But no need to dwell on it. Diablo was a talent, but subject to just the worst swings in behavior. It saddened me a bit as we headed for Ghidorah's personal chamber. Oh, that's a good picture. It's really that's fantastic.
Oh, you just saw
Oh.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, just
That's not. That's. I mean, that's like
No.
half
The
as
picture I was
dramatic as
talking
I
about
want it to
was
be.
Oh,
gotcha. Just
he has disgraced me.
He is.
Alright.
You have wounded me.
yeah. We
Alright.
found him in there in fine shape as well, despite my concerns. Phew. I thought I was goner for a moment, he said, not looking like he encountered anything more dangerous than a stubbed toe. Adam and Scroop
Damn.
was there with us. Ramirez and Veldora showed up later, but left after they saw Ghidorah was okay. So what happened? Well, I'll tell you. I went to the Imperial Council and argued against the war there, but I couldn't tip the trend away, sadly. I expected as much, so I decided to go to Emperor Ludora one last time and see if I couldn't appeal to him directly. He made the request for a meeting, which was accepted and scheduled for today, but inside the Imperial Palace, he said he was stabbed by someone. This happened not even 10 minutes ago. That definitely wasn't all right. I felt guilty for asking. Oh, right, I gave you a resurrection bracelet. Ha ha, Lady Ramirez's powers are truly amazing. They saved my life, in fact. I thought something like this would happen, so I set up a return spell in advance. Judging by how healthy and unstabbed he was, I figured it was something like that. Pretty smart idea. If he could instantly teleport himself back to the labyrinth, the resurrection bracelet would save his life, no matter how badly he was hurt. Seeing a real-life example like this reminded me all over again just how effective Ramirez's abilities were. Still, though, Ghidorah is a pretty nimble guy himself, setting up spells in advance like an alarm. He taught those tricks to Razin as well, apparently, and I'd want to practice that later on. I'd hasten thought too, so combining combining it with this delay thing could produce some even bigger results. Who attacked you then? There weren't too many people in our own nation who could kill Ghidorah. He was always on his guard, keeping up a pretty stiff magic defense, and I didn't think he'd fail to spot a sneak attack in time, but well, the assassin managed to avoid my detection before I struck, so I wasn't able to see exactly who it was. There is a suspect in my mind, but I must admit, it's rather hard to believe one. He showed me his back. There was a straight tear in his robe. His body was completely healed, but his clothing was still in the same condition. The tear was corroded in spots too, so it clearly wasn't just his physical attack. A single stab to the heart from behind, huh? Your defenses were destroyed by magic, it would seem, Diablo added. Quite an interesting skill to use. It piqued Diablo's interest, and if so, this was no amateur assassin we were dealing with. I was sure the Empire had someone capable of killing me. Maybe it was Ghidorah's attacker even, but I ought to have assumed there was more than that. Ghidorah himself didn't seem confident enough about his hunch to name a suspect, but he wanted to do some investigating, so I'd leave that to him. I didn't think he was lying, and he honestly seemed perplexed about the whole thing. I wasn't about to trust him immediately, but I figured I'd wait and see what happened. Well, I'm glad you're all right at least. It certainly shows us that the Empire shouldn't be trifled with. Let's all try to be a little more careful. You are exactly right, Sir Rimuru, Diablo agreed. No need to risk our necks further with them. I'm sure there's little new information to find regardless. Ghidorah nearly died over the inflow he got for me, and I had to be satisfied with that. So after a few more kind words, I let him brief me on what he found. As the old man put it, the Empire was making concrete moves towards war. Whenever the Empire opened hostilities against another nation, they never bothered issuing a formal declaration of war. The Emperor was defined to be the sole, unique presence that mattered, and they didn't even recognize the existence of a lot of countries. That, of course, was lip service. They had diplomatic relations with the Dwarven Kingdom, for one, and they didn't meddle in their sovereign territory. If the Empire decided to invade, it only did so after careful, prudent preparation. They didn't declare war. They sent a letter advising the other side to surrender, and only once. If you followed it, fine. If not, as the stories went, the war was on, and they no longer show any mercy. You really couldn't get much haughtier as a nation, or more arrogant. If you're going to be such a bother, guys, don't expect to make any friends in international society, okay? Not that they participated in it anyway. They hadn't ratified any of the international law enacted by the Council of the West, so once they started a war, all bets were off. Post-defeat agreements, prisoner handling, prohibited actions during a war, they followed none of those, part of why the Western nations defeated or feared the Empire so much. Which, yeah, I can see why. At this rate, they might try to justify the mass killings of civilians, and if you lost in war against the Empire, that meant losing everything. I doubted the word reparations was in their vocabulary. Everything belonged to the Empire, so the losing nation would lose all their rights. If you wanted to reason with them, you had to at least fight them to a draw. We definitely couldn't let up right then. We had to go in strong and cut out the root of all this evil. Now that we knew the Empire's direction, we switched gears into our own wartime proceedings. Our control center would now become a strategic headquarters. Just a formality, really, but still an important one. Benimaru and Soy would be on standby there at all times, the latter using his replication span across the region for spy ops. That way, we wouldn't have to rely solely on our Argos network, and with Moss's assistance, we should be able to get some pretty accurate intel. Moss. At this point in time, we had a pretty decent advantage. Basically, in this world, war didn't really begin until one army encountered the other. You could use scouts and long-range medic magic to try detecting enemy movements in advance, but conventional wisdom called for that only when the two sides are pretty close to bumping into each other anyway. The concept of information warfare was a thing here, but there wasn't another nation on this planet with an enemy monitoring program as thorough as ours. That's what Hinata and Ghidorah told me too, so I wasn't imagining it. It was the golden truth.
Is there a cricket in somebody's room?
Yeah, I heard that somewhere. I wonder what's going on.
What?
A
Moon,
cricket?
Is there a cricket in your room? Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, I
there's
hear
a
it.
loud ass frog out there.
Oh,
okay.
frog. Go get it. Bring it here. He can join the stream.
Yeah.
Where the fucker's at?
Well, you can hear him. You
There you
can
go.
just listen for him.
Yeah. I thought it was a cricket too.
It does sound like one, yeah. But now that you say it's a
Yeah.
frog, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just amazed
This.
picking that up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are we seeing this from the air? Ghidorah asked, incredulous. Diablo chuckled. This is a product of Sir Rimuru's magic. It requires merely a minuscule amount of magicules to trigger magic from beyond the stratosphere. Only a small number of people could ever detect this magic in motion. One would need a danger prediction ability on the level of Ultra Instinct. Oh, okay.
Fucking Goku.
Yeah,
What?
I was gonna say.
What?
I guess he watches DBZ.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
blanked out for a second. Wait.
He mentioned Ultra Instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It snapped me back in.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
just like Diablo's like, my master's the best ever.
I mean, it's true though.
To be fair.
Yes, indeed. I'm fairly confident in my own magic detection skills, but this just seems so natural. I never imagined it was the work of any caster at all. Precisely. Even an arch-level or archdemon well-versed in magic would overlook such a low-level spell. Truly wonderful. Don't you agree? I do. This magic is simply mind-boggling. Diablo, for some reason, was now bragging to Ghidorah with the smuggest of grins. The old sorcerer was getting more and more excited as he concurred with each of Diablo's
Oh
boasts.
no, not another one. Not you too.
Shion,
He's joining
Yeah.
the fan club.
he's doing
Yeah.
it. The fan club grows.
Shion,
Great.
stop him! He's doing the thing.
Shion's gonna come in like, oh, I
Yeah.
can get a t-shirt,
I got this.
t-shirt in your side. It just has like,
No, she's-
yay, Rimuru on it.
Just comes over like, I got this. Cocks the fucking sword.
All right.
You know?
I got
Right.
this.
Shion, right away. Diablo was going to be nothing but a distraction, so I ordered Shion to isolate him in another room. Now that things were quiet, we got to the business at hand. This high-altitude monitoring system was just beyond cheating. I mean, think about it. Until this moment, we spent so much time fretting about which routes they attack from. But now that seemed like a joke. We had a full video feed of not only the most likely routes, but our entire border within the Empire, or with the Empire. So we'd see everything from the moment they kicked off. It was like playing chess with a blindfolded opponent. They'd only know where their pieces were, and unless you were a real beginner, you wouldn't even lose to a professional. They weren't just missing a couple pieces, they were at a near total disadvantage. And of course, war has no rules anyway. If you win, you played it right. Having the other side plot an invasion of our territory was scarier than I thought. It meant you'd have war on your own land, with no previous agreements. But I put up one rule in advance. No touching civilians. We, of course, would strictly prohibit ourselves from striking first. If we declared an end to hostilities, we'd refrain from attacking any further. I trusted that nobody would go against this and break the rules. Now I had the cabinet of Tempest here in the control center. Benimaru was our commander, Hakuro our chief advisor. Rigurd was there along with the heads of the other three powers, or the three powers of government serving under him. Regurd, and Rogurd. Shuna and Lilina led the female contingent. They were alongside Rigurd, our top behind-the-scenes man, as well as Kaijin and Kurobe. I had Vesta and Mollymai on there as consultants. Gupta and Gabiru had reported in as army generals, and Geld had taken time off his work to show up as well. Finally, I had invited Testarossa and her two demoness friends, and I let Diablo in too, figuring he had learned his lesson. He was standing amicably in his usual spot alongside Shion. I also decided to bring Ghidorah and Shinji's gang in as witnesses, and a bit later Masayuki, that font of morale for all of humanity, came in. Wait a minute, why am I the font of morale for anything? Can you stop spouting crap about me like that? Ugh. Whoops.
So Yuki, you're like the Hercule Satan of this universe.
It's true, though. He is, though. Whoops.
Hey,
Guess
the
I was
champ.
airing my thoughts. What?
Hail to the champ.
It's true. Whoops. Guess I was airing my thoughts out loud again. Masayuki looked pretty huffy about it, and for some reason Ghidorah was staring right at both of us. Maybe something caught his eye, but I'd ask about it afterward. That left two more people to mention. Beldora and Ramirez, our support staff. Beretta, Trainee, and Charis were also on standby in one corner. That was about all of them. Giving a few pets to Ranga on the ground next to me, I looked around at my seated audience. I don't need to tell you why you're all here today. We're going to hold a conference to work out our opposition to the Empire. Benimaru and I have come up with an outline of our strategy, but I want to hear your feedback on it as well. Don't be afraid to speak up at any time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Rimuru.
So the conference began.
Yes, sir, Rimuru. Oh shit.
I feel like when it's like multiple people talking the same line, we should all just say it.
Yes, sir, Rimuru.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Rimuru.
Yes, sir. Rimuru.
I love Mandy Roots.
Yes, sir,
just,
Rimuru.
yay, Gabiru. God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been a little while.
All right.
So wait, where's Soka? I'm sad. She's probably there somewhere.
She's busy making googly eyes at Soe. Yeah.
SOA. Yep.
It's true. This is true.
All right, we made it
It's like,
all the way.
Soka,
to
did you
round
understand
one.
any of the conference? Looking at Soe. Wait, what? Sorry, I was. What?
Moon? It's your
And
turn.
then Soe says,
Oh. Yep.
It's your turn. You have to let the frog read.
I do the Kermit voice.
Turning toward the
Ow.
screen, I saw it display crowds of Imperial forces on the move.
Okay, now you have to read.
That's really good.
These metallic vehicles whirring along as they ran on treads. They were tanks, and from what the image showed, there were around 2,000 of them. Whoa! I thought when I saw that, what are tanks doing here? Flustered, I asked Shinji's group for some explanation. Through them, we learned that the Empire was using the knowledge and science of other worlders to develop modern weaponry. They had internal combustion engines that ran on magicules instead of oil, charging up their energy through air circulation, allowing for cooling and magicule supply at the same time.
That's what we should be doing. Magicules.
Ah.
It
You know
would-
what?
makes so much sense.
When we defeat the Empire, this is the first thing we repossess.
Yeah.
The first thing we're gonna look into. Okay, guys.
Duh.
Write that. Shuna, write that down for me.
Anyway.
These tanks were also pretty versatile in
Magic
terms of functionality. I'd say they easily outclassed the best tanks in our world. Ghidorah told us that the Empire analyzed a magical control reactor found in some ancient ruins, and we worked them for modern times.
So there's Zonai. Gotcha.
Oh, that's gotta be it.
Yeah.
They were also building up a supply of magic stones for fuel purposes. That's Zonite. Relying on their natural magicule supply for normal operation, and the stones during battle. They could run at up to 65 miles an hour, and bad roads were no problem for them. They could even float in the air, a little above the ground, although it cost energy. Frankly, I felt we had fallen behind. If only we had worked on these. It frustrated me. Tanks, in a world of knights. It never even occurred to me. And I had trains and everything. I was one step away.
Tanks.
Coulda
for the
watched
memories.
Game.
Would you really develop... But would you really develop tanks before cars?
Yes.
I didn't think so. I mean, I'd need to think things over carefully before I even put cars into the mix. They'd be useful, but it was kind of like playing with fire. I was sure everybody would want one, but I didn't think it'd be possible to dole out one to each person. We couldn't tap our energy supply dry, so there was bound to be the haves and have-nots. It was
See,
a better
the problem
idea,
with
I thought.
that, like, what happens when they have to do like the texting and driving PSA or whatever the equivalent would be?
We don't have texting.
Thought communication.
Thought communication and driving. There you go.
No. You can do both when you have thought communication. It's okay.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, it's called
so easy.
Bluetooth call.
Yeah.
It was a better idea, I thought, to develop our city so you didn't need cars. With trains, after all, things were a lot more convenient already. But maybe once our rail network was built out, I could develop luxury cars as a kind of hobbyist thing for the rich. Something you'd want to strive to own someday. It'd give people something to dream about. And I figured something high-end enough to be a status symbol would be all right. But that could wait until the war was over. After all, the tanks weren't the only surprise.
Dave is
They
not
even had
allowed to
flying
drive
ships.
cars.
Okay, who are we allowing to drive a car? And who we are not allowing to drive a car?
I love that Ryuma posted that Dave is not allowed to drive
Yeah.
cars. I looked over it.
I-
I saw that. I'm like,
I
damn
want to
it.
say
Good call.
Wrong
wanna
is
say
allowed to
Benny-
drive the car.
Good one.
Shion's not allowed to drive a car. Diablo's
No.
not
No.
allowed to drive.
No.
Benimaru maybe.
He's okay.
Mars
I think he'd be
for sure.
okay.
Would Shuna
He'd be
drive,
okay.
or would she have a chauffeur?
Shuna would have a chauffeur, and it's Hakuro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hakuro would be a good driver. I
So he could drive.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
Gopta
Absolutely.
would be Hakuro's chauffeur, really.
He'd just be scared to drive.
Yeah, he'd be scared. He'd be super
Like-
I
scared.
feel like Gabiru would get the license to drive, but everyone would want to like his own crew would want to volunteer to drive for him.
How about Gabiru? Gabiru
Yeah.
wouldn't want to drive. He'd just fly everywhere.
Yeah, he could-
That's
Yeah,
true.
he's-
He could
He doesn't need
fly.
a car.
But it's like a
Kidding me?
status thing almost, is what they're describing too.
Yeah, but he's got
Speaking
wings.
of flying, they
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
had flying ships. It was hard to keep from shouting out, "Are you kidding me?" Those things would make transportation
Bullshit.
so much easier. If you used them in war, your supply problems were a thing of the past. If we could have taken air superiority for our own, it would have been a lot more optimistic. We need to develop those, I thought, but it just wasn't too realistic yet. Flying airships weren't something you could wrap up in a day. I think it was doable with enough time, but no development project ever went that
You
smoothly.
literally have
Every-
Gabiru and wyverns
Yeah.
Yeah.
and dragons.
Yeah, but not everyone can
Dragons.
fly.
Just dragons.
I
and
want
literal.
it.
dragons.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's not the same. I want it.
Every project took shape only with a trial and error process. On this point, I really had to applaud the Empire's R&D department, and hopefully nobody would chide me for thinking, boy, it'd be nice if we could seize one of those intact.
God damn it.
But, man, If only I'd thought a bit more outside the box with my orders for things. But never mind. No point gnashing my teeth over it. But it was something for the future. Once this war was done with, I definitely wanted to start developing some more neat, innovative stuff. So we saw the current state of the Empire. I had been briefed on it in advance,
I mean,
but a lot of people in the control center were finding out for the first time.
to be fair, the Final Fantasy nerd wants an airship. I can understand.
Yeah,
Those are really cool, though.
They
I
are.
want that.
They
Oh.
gazed at the screen, mouths agape, not bothering to hide their surprise. Who is this?
The total size of the.
I think that's
Raphael. No,
I think this
not
is still no. This is still
Yeah.
Rimuru.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
this.
total size of the invasion force is estimated to be 1 million. I guess you can see that, but I think the Empire's military has been a surprise for us all. But we still have the advantage in this conflict, so don't worry. The most important element of war was how well you could estimate the opponent's fighting power. On that point, we pretty much stripped the enemy bare. Raphael told me that the total count was 1 million, and that was a crazy number to deploy, but I didn't think it spelled doom for us. That was simply how much leeway we had to work with. Ghidorah has informed me that the Imperial military is composed of 3 major divisions. One of them is called the Armored Division, and that includes the tank force we see here. They call it the Magitank Force, and we can assume it's the main source of their power. I explained the inner workings of the Magitank Force to everyone. But that wasn't all of Ghidorah's info. He had participated in their strategy meetings for me, and he told me everything that was covered. The Empire knew Ghidorah had deserted by now, so there was a chance they changed their plans, but I was sure the main gist was the same. They had Yuki over there after all, and Yuki was apparently angling to stage a coup of the Empire. Good lord, I can't read. I was sure he was encouraging the other division's commanders to not worry about the surely dead Ghidorah. That ought to mess them up. Plus, as Ghidorah told me, the commander of the Armored Corps, a man named Caligulio, had taken the
Yeah.
bait I laid out for him. He believed the dungeon was full of resources and treasure, and he wanted to seize it before anyone else could. If so, I'm sure he wouldn't want to change out the whole operation at this point, so chances were good that he'd take up Yuki's suggestions. Working on assumptions is a dangerous move, but seeing how Caligulio ran his force, it'd be easy to surmise that what his army wanted.
Sounds like a type
Once
of
I-
linguine.
It does.
Caligulio?
I'm wondering if
Caliguli.
he's an
I like a
otherworlder
little
from
bit
Italy.
of Caligulio with some extra pasta sauce.
Hey,
Oh, that sounds nice.
no, Caligulio with the gabagool.
Caligulio.
What pairs well with
Caligulio's
Caligulio?
about to go splat with the pasta.
What kind of wine? What kind of wine would you pair with Caligulio? You know?
Oh, a nice
Yeah,
red wine.
A nice Pinot Noir.
Pinot
uh,
Noir.
Pinot Gringo, maybe?
A Pinot
White
Noir.
A Pinot
A
Noir.
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 Oh, once I
Some
wrapped
white wine.
Once I wrapped up my rundown, Gupta was the first to speak. My force is stationed, in the lodging town, but are they gonna be fighting those tank thingies? Very observant. In fact, for someone appointed a commander, this was a life or death question. Considering his long documented history of sleeping through meetings, Gupta was showing some real growth. Sometimes a guy needs a little responsibility to show his true colors. Isn't that obvious? The job of your first army corps is to smash up this tank force. As my emotions got the better of me, Benimaru gave him the news. Oh, that was Benimaru. Isn't that obvious? The job of your first army corps is to smash up this tank force. The shock made Gopta sway in his seat. Nobody told me. Yeah, I get it. So you mean we need to defend the town with our lives? He asked, a look of death already on his face. I smiled back at him. Of course not. Based on what I know about the tank's abilities, I think you guys could win if you took the right approach. But who knows how many losses you'd take doing it. That and defending's always harder than attacking, and your green numbers without any battle experience are gonna be pretty fat targets for them. So no, it's not a to the death thing. I was trying to calm him down. Hakuro, who I assigned to support Gopto, was nodding at this. He must have caught my drift. Okay, so what are we gonna do? That... Hold on. Yeah. That is the job of a general to work out. But I shouldn't expect that from you first thing. Benimaru, if you could. Yes, I was lording it over him, but honestly, I was just as much a military amateur as Gupta. I didn't know much about strategy, so I was leaving the nitty-gritty to Benimaru. But then, I enjoyed making life easier for myself. If Gupta could work hard and mature for me, I'd be able to kick back that much more. So, hoping Gupta would put in a diligent effort, I listened to Benimaru alongside him. All right, Gupta. The lodging town's a vital base for us, but losing it wouldn't be a major concern. If they tear it down, we can rebuild it. If they capture it, we can take it back. The problem is the potential for civilian casualties, but Sir Rimuru is taking care of that. He's already sent out the order for everyone to evacuate to the capital of Rimuru. The moment I knew the Empire was on the move, I had them begin the evacuation. It'll take time, I'm sure, but it ought to wrap up before the Empire arrives. Oh, right. There weren't a lot of folks around there. I'm sure there weren't. Your job's to help anyone left in there evacuate to safety. After that, you'll be heading here. Benimaru pointed out a spot on the large map we had spread out on the conference table. It was the armed nation of Dwargen in particular, its central city. Huh? Look at this image. The Imperial force intends to split up and invade from several routes. Some of their units are already in the forest of Jura, but the tank force hasn't moved yet. Based on the direction of their advance, they're clearly following the foothills of the Kanat Mountains. It's not as thick with trees there, so the force won't get bogged down as much. Oh, okay. You don't get it, do you? Ah, well. Anyway, your mission is to defend the Dwarven Kingdom. As he spoke, Benimaru moved a peg representing Gobta's force into the Dwarven Kingdom. Then he took another one out, symbolizing the Dwarven armed forces, and placed it next to Gobta's. You'll be fighting together. Oh. Now Gupta got it. His reaction was a mix of surprise and excitement. This was another operation inspired by Ghidorah's information. Gazel already gave it his blessing. As per our agreement, I informed him that the Empire was aiming at the Dwarven Kingdom, and as I promised him, I declared that we'd send him back up. Gazel, to his credit, had picked up on the Empire's suspicious behavior. They had repeatedly asked for permission to march through. He was starting to get sick of constantly refusing them, but he could read between the lines. He knew they'd lose their patience and get moving eventually. My offer was welcomed by him, and it'd give us a lot of benefits as well. We could always rebuild the lodging town if it was destroyed, but as we saw it, the Empire wouldn't go out of their way to pillage it if no fighting occurred there. If we could get it back soon enough, I saw no problem with abandoning it for now. The Empire's traveling through such a conspicuous spot because they want to convince us they'll invade there. With this much of a show, anybody would notice it. Oh, so it's one of those show of force things? Damn, Gupta, grasping the fancy concepts and everything. He must have been studying a little bit. I was impressed. That's right. This route they're taking is on the border between Dwargen and Tempest. Both countries are going to notice them. It's a great way for them to gauge our moves. If it looks like we're gonna meddle with them, they can use that as a pretext to start attacking. We're forbidden from striking first, of course, so we'd start with a warning. Do you understand so far? Yep. Now, if we don't make any moves, the Imperial force will cross the Great Ameld River and reach a point that overlooks the main entrance to the Dwarven Kingdom. That's a broad, grassy area without any trees, the perfect place to deploy an army. Uh-huh. Once they get that far, King Gazel's not going to stay silent. He'll face up to them with his own forces and try to negotiate. And it's the same way with us. The Emperor will make enemies out of us and the kingdom at that point. Benimaru moved the pegs around the map to demonstrate. Sir Ghidorah said that the Emperor's way of being surrounded by the Dwarven and Tempestian armies. Emperor's wary of being surrounded by the Dwarven and Tempestian armies. But as long as they cover this point, that can't happen. Even if the other side stages a sneak attack from here, it wouldn't mean anything tactically. A surprise attack involves striking the enemy when its guard is down. If the enemy expects it the whole time, it was not only meaningless, but it could be harmful. And so, instead of that, we'll assault them from the start. We'll go right up and we'll smash them. Benimaru tapped Gopta's peg against the Empire's. Oh. Gopta sounded impressed. None of my other advisors seemed against it. But what do they think about our forces' size difference? 3rd Army Corps General Gabiru? Sir! Your role is to guard the evacuating residents. Watch from the skies for stragglers or people in trouble and help them out as needed. Yes, sir. Once you guide them to safety, you'll travel over to Gobta to support him. If the timing works out, you'll reach him before the Empire can. Our force is the swiftest in all of Tempest. I promise you we will make it in time. Gabiru looked confident enough about it, but realistically speaking, it'd be tough. I intended to have the trains running full speed to get the residents evacuated. But moving tens of thousands of people took time, and the Empire had frightening mobility. Based on our calculations, which factored in their legion magic as well, we predicted that their army could advance in mind-blowing 40 miles in a day. Right then, the Empire was stopped against the border. From there to where they planned to open hostilities, there were around 930 miles of terrain to cover. In about 20 more days, the Imperial force would reach their destination. This dizzying marching pace was possible because of each of their soldiers had undergone body enhancement surgery, or something like that. This apparently let them stay on the move for a week without food or drink, so their maximum fighting speed was even faster than that. The tanks, meanwhile, could go around 6 or 7 miles an hour without an external supply, and since atmospheric magicules were available day and night, they could take advantage of that to resupply themselves more fully when resting. No point exhausting your force before the war even began, after all. Ghidorah's guidance along those lines seemed sound enough, so Benimaru and I used this assumption for our calculations. I keep burping. Thanks to that, the Empire could arrive at this point sooner than we expect. I don't want anyone here to be caught by surprise. Upon closing that subject, Benimaru moved right on to the next one. So this is where the Empire will break out their main army, but as Gupta said, this is mainly a show of force. In other words, a feint. Their real breakout teams are going to move toward here. He took out some differently colored Empire pegs and spread them around the forest of Jura. Their plan was to make us think the tanks were their main force, then place the brunt of their troops elsewhere. This was all plain as day in our monitors, so I couldn't say the idea really wowed us. Now, even if things expand past what we're expecting over here, we still have Geld guarding this terrain. Geld, I want you to call your forces back from their stations as quickly as you can.
Understood. I've already sent the thought communication. All my forces will gather up shortly.
Benimaru and Geld were certainly on the same page. Just a few words, and everything was set. I knew I could rely on him. Now, Benimaru looked back down at the map. These forces are likely going to advance through the forest, trying to stay hidden. Unfortunately, Sir Rimaru's Argus monitoring magic can't reveal everything happening under the forest canopy. That's where Soe comes in. Soe nodded and stood up.
Your line.
Oh, this whole thing?
You
okay.
have dialogue.
I thought that was him.
You
Wow,
thought
it's
you
been
were
a while,
done.
Actually, it's been a while. The forest is lush with tree cover and difficult to monitor from above. Even if we deploy all our agents, there's too much ground to cover, and they run the risk of being found. So we've decided to rely on Moss instead. He's capable of releasing a large number of tiny replications and picking up all the information they take in. None of them can fight very much, but losing a replication won't hurt us at all. Using that, Moss is currently monitoring the eastern forest of Jura. He's informed us that platoons of Imperial troops are on the advance in there, and thanks to his surveillance, we can crush each and every one of them at will. He accentuated the... Oh, sorry.
He accentuated the point with a cruel smile. Kind of scary. Good thing he's on our side. Sure, we could defeat these small platoons all day, but it's the big main force behind them that worried me. Benimaru's strategy for that was to wait until they had gotten themselves assembled to some extent. If the Imperial force is trying to reach the dungeon, we'll invite them in and take care of them then. If any remain on the surface, Geld's second corps and my main force will hit them hard. That's all. It was a very simple, easy to grasp strategy, but really, I was still worried about our size difference. Nobody had commented on that yet, but what did they think about it? Maybe I ought to have brought it up. But as I hesitated, the control center rang out with the cries of war.
Oh.
All right. All right. All right. If Gabiru's joining my team, we're all gonna be okay. Victory's in the bag for us. I'm delighted to hear that from you, Sir Gupta, and I promise you that we'll fight the way a winning army should.
I
Aw.
was worried.
Is that Geld? Yeah.
I was
Oh.
worried we wouldn't get to join in, but I knew Sir Benimaru would come through. He left us with the greatest honor of all, protecting the homeland. Trust me when I say we'll make full use of our powers.
All three of our generals responded to Benimaru's call to arms. Even the non-military folks were excited, trading feedback with one another. There wasn't a hint of pessimism. Even the three demonesses were happily joining in. But, guys, again, the size difference?
Literally means
mean-
nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Quantity
not about
now.
the size; it's how you use it.
Quality,
For
not
real.
quantity.
We're
Yeah.
talking about our armies, right?
Yep.
I mean,
totally
yeah.
No, sir,
Okay,
I
okay,
didn't
just making
see you
sure.
playing with your dolls.
I mean, yeah, I thought we could win this too. I even felt pretty safe assuming we would. But I was far from anxiety-free, and yet nobody seemed the slightest bit worried. It was weird. Even Gopta was brimming with enthusiasm, his initial concerns now put behind him. He might have had Hakuro as his advisor, but I was still anxious about him. All right. All right. Oh, wait. All right, so is anyone unclear about any part of Benimaru's rundown? I prompted them all, but no one had any questions. Instead, Benimaru spoke up for the group. Do not worry, Sir Rimuru. We are not at all worried about losing. Not because we don't think we'll lose, but because we'll devote every effort to the fight. We have ample enough reason to win, and we have a glorious battlefield waiting. If we lose, it just proves we were incompetent. We weren't the fittest, so we didn't survive. He gave me a refreshing smile. All the monsters in the room were exuding the same vibe.
Why am I picturing
Including Shuna.
Sidon?
Oh, like that.
Benimaru is
It works so well.
that
Oh my
fucking
god.
Colgate smile.
Sidon is his. Sidon
yeah.
is his
His spirit
persona.
animal. Yes, Sidon
Yeah.
is his spirit animal. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the monsters in the room were exuding the same vibe, including Shuna and the other women. They weren't afraid of losing. They were afraid of running from the fight. And more than that, I thought, vaguely at least, I was beginning to understand their feelings. I thought I did, and I decided to do what I could for them. Testarossa, Ultima, Carrera. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The-
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
The three
Hey.
That's
three
this
demonesses.
is my war voice.
The three demonesses immediately reacted. I had an order for each of them. Each of you will accompany an army corps and support their operations. Absolutely, Sir Rimuru, Testarossa replies. I have Cian taking care of the council, so until this war is over, I will gladly participate. Finally, I'm seeing some action. You're in good hands, Sir Rimuru. Oh, wait.
Said
Nope, that
Ultima.
was
No.
Ultima,
You,
yeah.
yeah, that definitely.
No, it's two different people.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And-
like.
You're definitely. That's definitely the girl that's like, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
thought that
ready
was
to
Carrera.
kick some ass.
Okay,
Mm.
yeah.
Karate, I'll kick your ass.
Carrera snickered. You can expect great things from me, Master. Time to show off every ounce of my powers. The three of them looked up at me. Beaming, I nodded back and gave out my assignments. Testarossa, you'll join Gopta. Gladly, she replied. Gopta looked significantly less convinced. You sure about that? This girl's never even fought before. Can she keep up with the first corps? Sheesh. That was a pretty bold statement to make around her. I
To be
mean,
fair, he's never seen
I didn't know.
her.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
know that she's a primal either. So
That's
or
true.
He doesn't know.
I didn't know these girls were primals until just recently, so I'm not one to talk, but Gopta's sheer courage just floored me. She's gonna kill you, I thought, but I kept my mouth shut. After all, wouldn't it be more fun this way?
God damn it.
Jesus.
Oh, please, Gabiru,
Fucking
please
threw him under the
continue.
bus.
That's not Gabiru. That's Gopta.
I thought I said Gupta. Sorry.
Yeah, Gopta. That,
Yeah.
yeah.
My, I'm glad to be of such help, Testarossa said with a smile, but I knew I wasn't the only one who couldn't look her in the eye right then. Don't worry, Gopta. I'm pretty sure she'll accept an apology. Can't wait for Gopta to find out who she really is, though. By those standards, Gabiru had matured a lot. He bowed his head to Ultima. I look forward to your support. I still have so many improvements to make. According to Diablo and my other sources, Ultima was the most brutal of the three demonesses. Carrera was the most likely to go out of control. But Ultima was still the scariest.
God
I could
damn.
already picture her following my orders, but still keeping an eye on the side paths for some Imperial soldiers to torture. Gabiru dealt with her correctly, at least. She seemed to like him a lot, chirping, "Okay, I'm looking forward to it too," in her cute voice. I know Gabiru had been working hard on his habit of getting carried away, And now I'd say it just saved his life. A little daily effort can accomplish so many things.
You're not wrong.
Geld, meanwhile, had no problem shaking hands with Carrera. They both had a kind of noble warrior aura to them. I have to say, though, I did a pretty exquisite job with these pairings. If Gopta and Gabiru had switched places, I think Gopta would have been in mortal danger. So I patted myself on the back as I gave them all a little pep talk. Nobody really knew who these demonesses were. I put a gag order on everyone who attended the meeting. Guy crashed. No point terrorizing everyone for no good reason. I also told the trio to keep mum about it and take orders from the generals, so they wouldn't reveal themselves. But I was so sure they'd mess it up. It really scared me. Wish I didn't have to know the truth about them. But, let's trust them. Unless I told them to, I'm sure Testarossa and her friends would lie low. Either way, though, we had these three pairs in place. And with the demonesses accompanying our corps, I'm sure they could deal with any emergencies. That at least relieved me a bit.
All right, here we are. That settles that topic. Anything further to add? The rest would depend on the Empire's moves. So they'd just have to play it by ear after that. It'd be important to work alongside King Gazel, so we'd need to hold detailed talks about that, but that was a strategic HQ job. Our generals had their own orders already, so if that was all, I was ready to adjourn, but one person raised his hand up high. Could I say something? What's up, Masayuki? Well, I just had a question. Ignoring the question of why I'm a general for the moment, the volunteer army you gave me, I don't think anyone said what its role would be or anything, but... Yeah, I'm sure he has a few questions. Taking a high school age kid and calling him a general would confuse anyone. Maybe you'd see officers his age back in the samurai area, but I didn't think a kid who grew up during peacetime in Japan could keep up with it. But, it's hard for me, too. I'd turn around one day and boom, I'm a demon lord. I didn't have any helpful boss giving me a shoulder to lean on either. Along those lines, I'd say Masayuki's pretty lucky, actually. Don't you think so? Don't I think so? What? Can you please give me some guidance? Oh, right. Thinking all this won't get it across to him. It'd probably sound like a bunch of excuses to him. But oh well. Well, I felt kind of bad about pushing a huge amount of responsibility on you all at once. On you at once. But when it comes to reassuring the hearts and minds of our citizens, you're the best guy we got. If we were all monsters here, a war breaking out wouldn't be an issue at all. The morale would be 100% and nobody would cause any trouble. Not so with our new residents. They'd be scared, anxious, disturbed, and some might turn to crime even. So it's at a time like this when I want you to exercise your powers and ease everybody's anxieties. I see. I think I can help you with that. Masayuki seemed to understand well enough. Ah ha ha! No need for modesty, Sir Masayuki. As a hero, everybody knows, to say nothing of myself, that you'd hesitate to take the side of a single nation. But I hope you'll still lend a hand to assist the powerless, the helpless among our citizenry. Molly Miles' eyes sparkled as he pleaded with Masayuki. He was still misreading the kid's actual powers, but I didn't see any need to correct him. In fact, I had a sneaking suspicion that Hinata had the wrong idea about him too. What a bad dude, I thought as I watched the legend of Masayuki unfold before me. Yes. He didn't look too thrilled. In fact, I'd say he was pretty disgusted with the whole thing. I felt bad for him, but really, I wanted him to pitch in. So I guess my volunteer army will maintain public order? Perfect. As you know, Ramirez will ensure that the damage to our town will be kept to a minimum. When war breaks out, you see, the capital on the surface is going to be quarantined inside the labyrinth. I told my cabinet about this already, along with other involved parties. I wasn't keeping a tight cap on it, so I was sure the stragglers from the evacuation drills were spreading rumors about it. That was on purpose. I figured it'd help assuage people's fears a little more. Hee. That's right. I'm a pretty powerful fairy, But that's all thanks to my master. Indeed. I have lent a portion of my ponderous magical force to Ramirez, allowing her to engineer this gargantuan feat. Call it a victory driven by friendship, if you will. It was Ramirez who did the required legwork to stuff the city inside the labyrinth, but it couldn't be powered at all without Veldora. I had to honestly thank him for that. Thanks to you two, it's a huge help. Aw, is it? Oh, it's no biggie. Not at all. You can compliment me more if you like, though. That's right. Sing our praises to the high heavens. Yeah. Thank you very much. A couple compliments and look at them go. But they really did deserve it. And even when the city sequestered in the dungeon, you'll still see the sky above. A lot of citizens won't even realize anything is different. The Empire won't bring any of its violence to town, and really, I was still astounded by it. But you need to remember, Rimuru, said Veldora. This isn't too likely to happen, Ramirez began. This isn't too likely to happen, Ramirez began. But if my master was somehow defeated and the Empire makes it through the 100th floor, that's going to eject the town back up on the surface. Kind of the rebound from the expending all that effort, you know? Ah, that's another concern, huh? But that's based on the assumption that Veldora is going to lose, isn't it? If it comes to that, I think the town's going to be the least of our worries. If it did, all of us would be fully devoted to the fight. We wouldn't have the leeway to worry about what happened to the city, I'm sure. Not that I'd ever lose, of course. Veldora boasted. We got the 10 dungeon marvels on the case, too. So I think we're going to be just peachy. Ramirez was right, certainly. I didn't think Veldora would be playing much of a role, but if worse comes to worse, there's always Masayuki, too. Huh? Wait a minute, please! Peacekeeping is one thing, but what could I ever do if it came to that? We all nodded at Masayuki as he whined about never even leading an army before. Even Molly Mile, as much as he worshipped the guy, could understand. Don't worry, Masayuki, I assured him. I don't expect you to lead an entire military force. I'm still discussing this with Hinata, but I'm asking her to send an aid from the Crusaders. I'm sure she'll say yes, so you're gonna have an assistant helping you out pretty soon. Oh, you will? Well, that's a relief. And also, I added, I'll have the kids serve as your bodyguards, so they'll keep you safe. You keep them safe, alright? Imagine defended by the hero himself. Those children couldn't possibly be safer, Molly Mile roared. Of course. Masayuki nodded, even as a bead of sweat ran down his temple. He knew what the kids were capable of, so he understood who was going to be defending whom well enough. Plus, they'd have Chloe around, and I was sure she could keep them all alive if things got really hairy. So that was everything we needed to talk about. We were fully prepared, but until the end came, there was no telling what could happen. Besides, well, it's not like I didn't have any concerns. Chloe, after all, was had pretty vivid memories of my grisly death. At least one person in the Empire had the power to kill me. That was an undeniable fact. If they came for me, not even the 10 dungeon marvels could stop them. In fact,
The 10 dungeon marvels were put in place precisely for that reason, to reveal the scope of the enemy's power.
That's what I thought. At the end of the day, Raphael always put my own safety first, I guess. I appreciated it, but at the same time, I had to brace myself. I had to protect my friends no matter what. I didn't want any of them hurt, thanks to something as ridiculous as a war. And with that resolve in my heart, I ended the day's meeting. Masayuki did a good job addressing the populace. It looked like, apparently, addressing the populace, it looked like. Apparently, it turned into an I browbeat the demon lord into swearing he'd defend the city kind of premise. The hero does it again! What a role model! There he was, looking conflicted with himself as he basked in the adulation of Tempest adventurers and immigrants, but even his expression got misconstrued. My, doesn't the hero look so attractive when he's scowling? After all the promises he extracted from the Demon Lord, the hero's still not satisfied yet. Indeed, indeed, such a modest, reserved leader. The hero's going to protect this town. Between the Demon Lord Rimuru and him, I'm not scared one bit of the Empire's attack. Yeah, just leave it to them, and they'll take care of everything. That sort of interpretation. Now Masayuki's reputation was better than ever, his mental suffering going completely unnoticed by anyone else. And so, as the populace went on with their normal lives, the moment finally came. The Empire made its debut, and our days of peace reached an end. There, on a hot summer night, war began like a sudden dream. Now, the epilogue, the Emperor's Conquest. Okay, the epilogue begins on page 321, and we end on 327. Okay, cool. Oh, I actually went past my time. Ooh.
Oh.
Did you?
Yeah. It's 9:37, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
9:38 now.
9:38 now.
Yeah. Did I start at 9:30 or did I start at...
9:30. Yeah. You only read for like 8 minutes.
Really?
Actually, yeah, because Moon only read for 30 minutes. I read for an hour, so
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, less than an hour, but yes.
yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, your timer hasn't gone off to take your meds. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're awake,
Yeah.
aren't you, Ludora? A beautiful woman with blue hair spoke to the man seated in his wheelchair and dressed in all his magnificence. She was the marshal herself, the woman who held leadership in the Empire's main chamber. I am, Ludora responded. How did the conference go? We're going on the offensive. Brilliant. Ghidorah was against it, wasn't he? He was. That old man's a realist, after all. Not even otherworlder weapons can resist a true dragon. That much is obvious. There's no way anyone would fail to notice. I'm sure. But we must stage this campaign nonetheless. I must show the world that I am king. He then added in a whisper, That is my agreement with Guy. Ludora smiled warmly, his voice taking on a different tone. Now, Velgrind, from your perspective, how do you think things will unfold this time? Velgrind, the name of a true dragon, one of only 4 in the world, a dragon crimson red in color. She symbolized flames in all their scorching glory. She was older than Veldora, the storm dragon, and just as immortal. Her name, Velgrind, the flame dragon. She was the only one in this world who would bear that name. We will win, she replied to Ludora. We're guaranteed to win. We'll repel the dwarves from their burrows. We'll expel the dwarves from their burrows. We'll smash the pride of the newborn demon lord. We'll open the eyes of my indolent dullard of a brother, and we'll make Guy see that the ruler of the world is you, Ludora. She felt completely at ease being called that, for she was the one and only Velgrind. Velgrind the Flame Dragon, one of the all-powerful true dragons, and Emperor Ludora was an intimate companion of hers. We will. Splendid news. Do you think your younger brother will show up? Yes, Ludora, she replied without a moment's thought. He will. He always did enjoy a party. But, despite being unsealed, he still doesn't quite seem like himself to me. We haven't detected any magic storms, the kind of violent gales he used to summon in his rage, and the aura we could have detected from anywhere on the earth has vanished without a trace. Perhaps he's not fully revived yet? Then perhaps we can defeat him with my force. That would be quite a sight to see. First that demon lord gets full of himself, taming my idiot brother, and then he deceives my beloved niece. I'd love for him to experience a little hardship for a change. The pair exchanged a smile. To Ludora and Velgrind, the results of this operation hardly mattered. This was just a bet, a game with Guy over who would rule the world. The game had no complex rules. Use your pawns to conquer the opponent's territory, and you win. The world was the board game, and the pawns were monsters and humankind. At the start of the game, Guy held the monster and magic-born pawns, while Ludora had just a part of humanity. But these had changed hands many times, over many, many years, and now both sides were in a chaotic state. Under what rules there were, it was perfectly legal to seize your opponent's pawns, and to both sides, the most powerful pawns of all were the true dragons, their partners in the game. Only the pawns could be moved around. That was the one strict rule. By the same token, as long as Guy and Ludora didn't directly confront each other, anything else was allowed. If the world was destroyed, of course, that was game over. Neither side wanted that. So they went a little easy on each other, ensuring that never happened. But now, there were some wild cards in this game. Veldora, the last true dragon in play, and the primal demons. These wild cards were outside the realm of the game, and Guy and Ludora were free to either recruit or antagonize them. The demon lord Leon, Guy's cooperative pawn at the moment, was being threatened by Jean in his territory. Violet was active in the west, and any false moves could lead to untold damage. Blanc, of course, was stationed in the east. These demons boasted incredible powers, wholly exempt from the concept of death. It wasn't impossible to eradicate them at the root, but it would require careful, intricate preparations. But instead of paying all those sacrifices, it was best to negotiate and win them over to your side. That, Ludora and Velgrin believed, was the most advisable move to make against Guy in his game. If Velgrin made it a fight, she could destroy Blanc, but the damage to the region would be unimaginable. It wasn't a realistic option, they concluded. That, and the Western nations were now starting to move on their own logic. Another miscalculation. Luminous, a local god born in the West, had somehow grown herself a monotheistic religion. With her firm rule, she had managed to make the people of the West a single political entity. They knew Luminous was actually a demon lord, but now that her religion had taken hold, it was too late to do anything. By the time Ludora placed the East under his complete control, the West had also united itself. Thus, the game between Guy and Ludora fell into a stalemate. The heroes, Cronoa and Granville, made it so hard to attack the West. Quite a pain, wasn't it? If they hadn't shown up, I'm sure you would have won by now, said Velgrin. Oh, not necessarily. I'm sure Veldanava put those obstacles down on my road to conquest. A trial, if you will. He always did love his schemes like that. He certainly did. My elder brother always was a nuisance. They smiled at this moment of nostalgia. But now the time has come. All the pawns are on the board, and my moment of victory is near. It's finally time to put Guy and my sister Velzard in check, isn't it? Guy is aiming for this, no doubt. He wants you and Veldora to fight, so he can catch us when we're open. That's true. As much as it irks me. If only I were there, I would have taken care of Veldora back then, but she was referring to the Empire's previous failed campaign. If Velgrin had come out with the Imperial force, not even Veldora would have been a threat. But if they chose to do that, Guy would have likely profited from the fallout. Whenever you moved a pawn as all-powerful as a true dragon, you needed to make every preparation possible. But now provided an excellent opportunity. The secret agents Ludora had planted worldwide had given him all sorts of information. It took a long time, said Ludora. But it was worth the wait, wasn't it? Our greatest obstacle to conquering the Empire is now gone. Luminous, the one true god, was actually Luminous the Demon Lord, and now that she was revealed, they could predict her fighting power. The Demon Lord, who served Luminous, was also gone now, as was the 7 Days clergy, and what's more, that thorn in our side, Granville, is on his way to the afterlife, and now there are far fewer threats to us in the West. You're right. All the obstacles for my conquest have fallen without me having to lift a finger. That, they both firmly believed, was a divine sign that only Ludora deserved to stand at the peak. So, Ludora, how are you doing? No problems at all. My powers of Armageddon are available at any time. Armageddon was the ultimate skill in Ludora's possession. It could only be invoked under painstaking conditions, and once triggered, it would lay dormant for a long, long time. The only reason the Empire hadn't moved until now was that Ludora could do nothing but wait. Wait until Armageddon was usable once more. Thanks to their patience.
Long cooldown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Granville,
pretty much.
the greatest obstacle in
Yeah.
the way, was gone. It was, in a way, understandable that Ludora was so sure of victory. Guy, for that matter, had not fully taken control of the Demon Lords. Nobody would claim they were building much teamwork. Each Demon Lord was pursuing their own path. Their influence ranged far and wide, but to Ludora, they were not a threat. This time we've got the overwhelming advantage, eh? But we don't have much time, do we? I want to win over my stupid brother, even if I have to force the question. That gives us another measure against Guy. And if I can work things out with my sister Velzard, reign and misery cease to become a problem. So let me ask, do you have your ruling power? Nothing to worry about. If we can focus Veldora's mind on the battle, that provides the window for my Regalia Dominion to seize him. Velgrin gave him a soft smile framed by her cold beauty. Oh? Then victory really is close by. Of course it is. Everything is moving as I outlined it. Perfect, then. But I worry about your... Don't say it. This, too, is the natural way of things. One's body can be such an inconvenient thing. Ludora, if I continue reincarnating and inheriting my own consciousness and memories, it wears down my soul over time. If I can enjoy a rest period like Ghidorah, things would be different. But that is a luxury not afforded to me. If I tried that, my powers would no doubt be sealed away again. Then Ludora's powers would be reset. He'd be back at square one, unable to release them at once. And if he let that happen with every reincarnation, he'd never have any hope of beating Guy. This time around, Ludora had waited patiently for his powers to attain complete form. They were all unleashed now, ready for anything, but he had to severely strain himself to keep that up. However, this incarnation of Ludora had no concubines, not even an empress. Those were only for decoration in the Empire, yes, but it was still highly unusual. It meant that Ludora had not fathered a son. He had no spare self to tap into, and not having a son meant his powers would remain intact. Ludora's reincarnations were unique. Any son born from him would obtain all his powers and knowledge. It was a completely unbroken imperial line. A son didn't inherit the crown so much as become the true emperor. But this generation had none, and the timing of his Armageddon skill was the cause. If Ludora passed his powers on to a son, the skill would be restricted until he achieved adulthood. The child wouldn't be able to hold back the recoil this overflow of power generated, something Ludora could do nothing about. Right then, in this generation, all the best conditions were in place. If he ignored this and reincarnated himself into a son, that would cause a delay of a decade or so, and he hated to see that happen. Valgren had another concern as well. After building up his power to its absolute limits, Ludora's mental fatigue was nearing the breaking point. He was sleeping in shorter and shorter intervals, his physical weariness a constant companion. His current state did nothing but accelerate the wear on his soul. Relief could be found if he gave his power to a son and delayed the launch of Armageddon, but Ludora would never dare. The time was now, and he wanted to settle the score with Guy. She looked on at Ludora, heartbroken. How much time do you have left, Ludora? You don't need to worry about that. I won't falter until after my rule over the world is complete. I promise you that. Yes. Yes, I'm sure you would say that. There's no need to look so sad, Velgrund. I will win this time. Win and end it all. So quit worrying and just watch as I pursue my conquest. Then Ludora smiled his arrogant smile, the countenance of a ruler, a man walking the path of conquest until he ruled all. That was the way of Ludora, the hero emperor. The sight firmed Velgrund's resolve. Yes. Then allow me to bring down my rains of compassion. It has been far too long since I scattered my tranquil blessings of death. I will banish all those blocking your conquest to oblivion. She wrapped Ludora in a gentle, caring embrace, and then they continued chatting to their heart's content. And the next day, a military force like none before in history set off from the Empire.
She's got huge buns on her head.
Yes, she does.
Oh, a big blank.
Wow.
Bun.
She looks like Chun-Li, kind of. Or she's got
Yeah.
the Chun-Li buns and the Chinese dress. Good.
Is there a dragon on it?
Oh, there's a
Oh,
comic.
a little bit.
Yeah, there is. You can see the mouth. There's a
I
comic. at
could
the
tell
end.
because the claws at the bottom. He looks a lot younger than I thought he would be.
I want to read the
Yeah,
comic.
well,
What are you
he's only in like his 20s and stuff. Hey, Positive
That's not-
Thumb Gaming, thank you for the raid.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
woo, nice.
Appreciate it. Holy crap, guys. All right, so that's the end of volume 12.
Yeah.
I gotta be real with you guys. From the way things are looking right now, we've only got about 2 more weeks of this, and then I'm probably gonna have to turn the stream over to somebody else for the time that I'm gone. That's what I've been
Gotcha.
thinking about this whole time. I don't know who I'm giving it to, but I've got to give it to somebody who's got kind of a stable connection. So I'll have to have a conversation with Tony about who I'm giving the handing the stream over to. In all likelihood, it's probably going to be Shim.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay. Well. Okay.
Yeah, you're the one.
That's the case. I guess I have to figure out my specs.
You're the one who shows up most you're the one who shows up the most often.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, blame.
I guess I have
for
to bump
being
up my
dependable.
specs or at least do something. Okay.
Well,
Well,
no,
maybe
I
not
mean,
my specs, but I have to figure out what you use. Huh?
I use OBS.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying I have to like get that and like find out how to stream. Like get that going and all that.
Oh, that's
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I've never streamed on my own before.
you never streamed on your own. I mean, we can help you with that. It's not that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the good news.
Yeah, I haven't either.
All you're really doing is just using Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
technically, if it wasn't for his internet, I'd probably push it to Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my internet's not the best, but also in July I will also be moving, remember?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's right.
So,
And I don't know
So it'd be a
what the
temporary
internet's
thing,
gonna
if
be
anything.
At the
Mhm.
place I'll be at.
so
We'll have to figure that out.
everybody's kind of in flux. I don't know where I'm gonna be or if I'll be able to do streaming stuff in July.
Mm.
I don't know what's going on during that time. We may be on break. I don't know what the situation is. So I'm going to have a conversation with Tony about what's going on. But yeah, we've finished volume 12. Volume 13 is going to be the fun one, though. And I do want you guys to keep going with volume 13 because that's when Tempest goes to war. Boy,
Oh, this has been all war prep? Oh, man. I think we
man.
kind of mentioned that at the beginning. Like, oh, yeah, it's just war prep. But then,
This is all war prep, yeah.
oh,
the
man, I
actual-
wanted to go a
the
little in the
actual
war.
starts, and this time the cover for the next volume is literally the three demons. Yeah.
And there will be lots of blood.
Specifically Imperial.
Imperial blood.
Imperial blood. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Not at the moment. I don't think. Or are you talking about the book?
About the book. About the book. Not
Mm,
my situation. I don't want to talk
I
about my
just
situation anymore. I'm done.
like I know that all the images are black and white, but Ludora did not look like that at all in my mind.
No, he didn't. It was not described
I
to
thought
me.
he was like
The
an
way you
old.
described
No,
him
he's
Yeah.
or
not.
did his
No, no.
voice,
Well,
it made it sound like a weak, weary man.
He is weak and weary. He's just not, and he is a
Or
man.
maybe like older.
But like, he's like, he's reincarnated a lot, and he has
His soul.
he's got an old soul. That's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
The one
He's
thing you
got all
can't
his
escape.
memories from his previous lives. So I mean, if you think about it like that, yeah, he's old.
Valgrind
But-
also didn't look like that in my mind,
But his body is young. Yeah.
but his body.
His body is pretty young. That part. That part true.
She wants your hot prince body.
Oh God.
She's into those older souls.
Oh no.
Oh, I was gonna say you don't know.
You don't know.
But Grimsby, 8 legs, 7 vaginas.
Oh,
Oh,
Left.
that was the.
I guess that was the banning phrase. 7 vaginas.
oh no, you said
No.
his trigger.
No,
Yeah.
that was Moon. There's Moon's back.
And that's why we are having him
See,
being
Welcome
the
back.
host of the
say,
streams.
See, Shem, you
I have
say terrible
no
words.
idea what happened.
Shem said a bad word and your internet decided no.
I said
wasn't
7
even-
His
Virginia.
internet got
Yeah.
offended.
Yeah, your internet got offended.
It wasn't even the
by
internet. I
Shem's
was just
bad
trying to go from because I keep the Discord stuff popped out so I
Uh-huh.
can have it overlaid and still see the thing. I was just putting it back, and then Discord was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have a."
word.
All right, let me
I
just
stayed
do the.
connected the entire time, but it was just.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. That's
It's like I got stabbed
Yeah.
for a second there. And I was like, no, just nothing.
But yeah. So there you guys go. Got some
Yeah.
info about Ludora and Velgrind. So if you didn't
Yes.
already know who the marshal was, you damn sure do now. So there we are.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yes, shmeh, shmeh, shmeh.
Smash me.
Shmeh, shmeh.
Shmee, shmee.
So there
Yes.
we go.
Ugh. Yes. Oh, that's pretty big. Sorry, I'm looking at stuff. But anyway.
Those buns are pretty
Yes.
big. He cannot get over them.
Oh, you know.
But guys, thank you for hanging with us for for all of volume 12. We will see you next week for volume 13. I
Yeah,
was
thank you.
debating if we should do a raid, but I don't think I'm gonna. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna do a raid. And there's my reminder to take my other pill. So
Dang it, you couldn't end it beforehand.
it's okay. We ended at 10 o'clock on the dot for once. Look at that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Finish
Hell
the
yeah.
book. Finish the effing book. Look at that. Look at us. Look at us.
Mhm. Look at this team.
Look at
this.
this.
Great.
Great.
Who would've
Oh,
thought?
you beat me to it.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all. So you.
Hmm. Anyhow.
Yes.
Any but.
Anyhow.
Mhm.
That's an interesting thing. Super
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have anything else to say at this
Yeah.
point. I think we're pretty much wrapped up
We're
here.
pretty much done here, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.
Yep. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye bye.